You spend your nights curating a museum of ghosts, polishing the memories of a life that likely never existed in the way you remember it. It is a quiet, rhythmic labor, this constant act of filtering. You take the jagged edges of a forgotten childhood, the sharp sting of a betrayal, or the hollow ache of a stagnant career, and you run them through the sieve of nostalgia. Slowly, the debris falls away. What remains is a soft-focus sepia image, a romanticized version of who you were, sitting in rooms that were always warmer, bathed in light that never actually hit the floorboards. You do this not because you enjoy the haunting, but because the present, this suffocating, sterile reality where you feel like a stranger in your own skin, is a desert that offers no shade. You are not remembering, you are constructing a sanctuary out of debris, desperately hoping that if you believe the story long enough, the current cold will lose its teeth. But the irony is that the more you perfect the past, the more the present fractures. You are becoming a ghost in your own narrative, haunted by a version of yourself that never had to deal with the crushing weight of tomorrow. The silence in your apartment is not empty, it is heavy, dense with the static of things left unsaid. Outside, the city hums with an indifference that mirrors your own internal paralysis. You look at your phone, the blue light catching the fine lines around your eyes, lines that weren't there in the golden days you visit so frequently. You scroll through photos, not for connection, but for confirmation. You look for the smile that felt genuine, the laughter that sounded unburdened, searching for evidence that you were once a person who lived instead of just surviving. But every time you land on an image, you feel the familiar pull of the filter. You remember the day of the picnic, or the night of the promotion, or the weekend by the coast, and you find yourself editing the memory in real time. You strip away the humidity, the anxiety that sat like a stone in your stomach, the fight you had in the car on the way home, the underlying dread that you were wasting your time. You replace it with a hazy, golden veneer. You have become an architect of illusions, building cathedrals out of smoke. It is exhausting, this mental housekeeping. It requires a level of vigilance that leaves you drained before the sun even reaches its peak. You wake up, and your first instinct is to check the perimeter of your mind, ensuring no unwanted truths have leaked into the narrative overnight. You tell yourself that you are merely appreciative, that you are honoring the growth, but deep down, you know the truth, you are terrified of the emptiness. If you stop looking back, you are forced to look at the desk in front of you, the stack of unfinished tasks, the silence of a phone that hasn't rung for a person, the stark realization that you are not moving forward, but merely circling the drain of a curated history. You watch others on the street, their faces masks of mundane purpose, and you wonder if they, too, are fleeing. Are they hiding in their own internal archives, scrubbing away the blood and the tears until their histories look like polished glass? The loneliness of this realization is not a sharp, stabbing pain, it is a slow, steady tide that rises until you can no longer keep your head above water. You feel the disconnect growing, a physical distance between your mind and your hands, as if you are watching a movie of your life and you have forgotten the script. The overthinking is a labyrinth with no exit. You analyze every interaction, every word spoken, every slight gesture, trying to map it onto the timeline of your curated past. You find yourself comparing your current self to the specters of your younger years, and you always come up short. You are smaller, dimmer, more cautious. You have traded your edges for safety, your risks for a predictable, miserable stability. And yet, even that stability feels like a lie. Every night, the loop restarts. You lie in bed, the ceiling a canvas for the projections of what used to be. You remember the way the rain felt when you were 17, ignoring the fact that it made you miserable at the time. You remember the smell of your childhood kitchen, conveniently forgetting the tension that always curdled the air before dinner. You are gaslighting yourself in the name of comfort. It is a survival mechanism, a desperate attempt to maintain a sense of self when the reality of the present feels like a dissolution of the ego. But you know, in the quietest hours of the night, that this process is eroding your capacity to feel anything at all. You are becoming numb, a shell filled with postcards from a land that does not exist. The tragedy is that you have forgotten how to sit with the discomfort. You have become allergic to the raw, unfiltered truth of the now. Whenever a moment of genuine difficulty arises, you reflexively reach for the anesthetic of the past. You recall a time when things were better, and by doing so, you minimize the significance of your current struggle. You deny yourself the dignity of your pain. You think that by ignoring the cracks in your foundation, you are holding the structure together, but in reality, you are just masking the rot. You look into the mirror and you see the mask before you see the face. You have polished the surface until it reflects only what you want to see, a distorted, filtered version of a human being who is slowly forgetting how to touch the ground. The disconnect is complete. You are a vessel floating in a vacuum, tethered only by the fraying ropes of memories that have been edited until they are unrecognizable. There is no one to blame, no singular event that caused this drift. It is the slow, quiet, inevitable result of choosing the lie of the past over the truth of the present. And then, in a moment of rare, brutal clarity, the filter slips. You are standing in the middle of a crowded room or perhaps just staring into the mirror while brushing your teeth, and the facade simply dissolves. For a split second, you see it, the terrifying, beautiful, ugly reality of exactly where you are. You see the frustration, the fear, the stagnation, and the profound, aching loneliness of being trapped in a life you feel you haven't truly lived. You realize that you have spent so much time curating the museum of your life that you have left yourself standing out in the cold. The realization is heavy, a lead weight that settles into your chest, but for the first time in years, it feels real. You are not a masterpiece of memories, you are a work in progress, broken and jagged and entirely present. The past is not a sanctuary, it is a shroud you have wrapped yourself in to avoid the chill of reality. You have been mourning a death that hasn't happened, burying the living while you stare at the dead. The truth is not that the past was better, it is that you were once capable of feeling the pain of the present, and that capacity is the only thing that makes you human. You bury the truth to preserve the ghost. You kill the present to worship the past.